Well, hello, everybody. Welcome in. Four Bros Radio Show. Two bros here right now. Myself and Chris Mabry. It looks like he's on mute. I'm not sure if he can.
Yep.
There's having some trouble. I think he's here.
I can hear.
A couple of things we're going to go through real quick before some other bros jump on. We got some breaking news in the NFL. A couple of players have had their sentences, per se, reduced, their suspensions. And we're going to go over those rules that they released to maybe figure out why. So they just agreed to these rules. So if you bet on NFL games not involving your own team, you get a 1-year suspension. If it involves your team, 2-year suspension. Betting on non-NFL games in a team facility. Keep that one in mind when we say this one. So betting on non-NFL games in a team facility, 2 games for the first violation, 6 games for the second, and at least a year for the third.
If you I know what they mean, facilities.
Yeah. Attempting to fix a game in any way. So attempting to fix a game to make yourself win a bet, someone else win a bet in any way. Lifetime banishment from the NFL. You will never play in the NFL again.
Or coach.
Yeah. Inside information and or tipping. So giving inside information into a game or a matchup, what you should bet on. Minimum 1 year. So think about those as far as the NFL goes. That's the new rules that the NFL and the NFLPA have agreed upon. So that's the new agreement. Those are the new rules. That is what's going to come down. So my guess is that the players, I wish I had the names pulled up. I didn't. But the ones that got reinstated must have made non-football bets in team facilities. Yeah, because they're coming back now. So it was a 2-game suspension. That must be – I know it was the Lions player. The guy from the Lions, one of them was coming back. So that is one. And then the other thing Chris and I wanted to go over real quick, and not real quick, we'll probably spend some time on this one. Playoff scenarios in Major League Baseball. I think Callen's going to get his wish. What do you think? One of these is probably going to go down to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
One of these races.
I think so. I mean,
and these races are crazy, honestly. So let's look at, we have, and just so you know, we'll probably give you a preview into tomorrow's games also for college. We'll talk about the big games, we'll talk about the big NFL games, but Major League Baseball is going to start it off here. I'm going to pull up the standings real quick, tell you teams that have clinched and what the playoff scenarios are. So we'll start in the American League. As we know, the AL East has been clinched by the Baltimore Orioles. Congrats to them. They have 2 games left in the season. They've now won 100 games.
I'm glad.
It's good to see a team come from the bottom to the top. That's always great. So Toronto, so let's just run through it real quick. So Baltimore has clinched the East. Minnesota has clinched the Central. Okay. By the way, all the other AL Central teams are eliminated from playoff contention. None of them can make the playoffs at this point. And then in the West is the craziest one to me because all three of those teams, right, have 3 games left.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all separated by 3 games. Texas right now leads the division by 1.5 games over the Astros.
That's wild.
And they lead the West by the Mariners. They lead by 3 games over the Mariners. So then if we pull up the wild card and what we're looking at, let's go through National League quick. Let's look at the Braves have clinched the East. The Brewers have clinched the Central, and the Dodgers have clinched the West. So those are your division leaders. Those 6 teams we know are in no matter what. So right now, wild card.
Mm-hmm.
If we go National League wild card, the Phillies are in. They have clinched a playoff spot. They'll be a wild card team. The Diamondbacks and the Marlins are separated by 0.5 game for the second and third wild card spots. After them, and this is sort of breaking news too, up until their loss tonight, the Padres were not eliminated from playoff contention. However, with the Cincinnati win and the Padres loss, the Padres are officially eliminated from playoff contention.
Oh.
Yeah. So the Padres season has come to an end. Well, almost.
That's what
they have 2
makes it
games
crazy,
left.
though. That's what makes the playoffs in any sport crazy because you think you're out of it, then you're in it, but then sometimes you're in it, but then you're out of it.
For sure.
It's crazy.
For sure. We got a comment from Adam Barber, one of our own here. It says, I am pulling for the AL. I'm pulling for the Orioles for sure. I would love to see the Orioles run through the American League. That's for sure. And then let's look at the so the wild card. Right now, again, the Phillies are in. The Phillies have made the playoffs. But you have Arizona, Miami, the Cubs, and the Reds. 4 teams fighting for 2 spots, and they're 1.5 games apart. Those 4 teams, Chris, not 2 teams. 4 teams are 1.5 games apart.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
So this is how simple it is for Arizona.
There's no
game. What's
there's
that?
no game 163, right? There's no game 163.
No. So this is how easy it is for Arizona. They are 84-76, which means they can't lose. Like right now, they could lose 78 games. Well, the Cubs have 78 losses, and so do the Reds. So what does that mean? Pretty simple for Arizona. Win 1 game, you're in the playoffs. Win 1 of your last 2. That's it, and you're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
For the Marlins, it's a little tough. It's a little tougher for the Marlins because if the Marlins drop they drop 2 games, and the Cubs and or the Reds both win 2 games, the Marlins are not in the playoffs. And even if they win 1 game, the Cubs and the Reds can still catch them. So think of that. We could literally have our first tiebreaker in the first year that they've made that a rule. No more 163. You could have 3 teams with the exact same record to end the season.
And what's crazy, like you were saying about Arizona, Texas is in the same boat. They have to win at least 1 game to get in, but 2 for the division. Right now, it's not looking good. We got 2 games left.
No, and I was getting to that next.
To get in division. Yeah.
Yep, I was getting to that next. So the teams in the American League that have clinched are Baltimore and Minnesota have clinched the division. Tampa Bay has clinched a playoff spot, a wild card because they're not going to win the division now. But Texas is up by a game and a half for the division. Here's where it gets interesting. Now, you don't have quite the logjam you do in the NL because you have 4 teams fighting for 2 spots. You essentially have 2 teams fighting for 1 spot, which is Houston and Seattle. They're a game and a half apart. The Mariners have to win out.
So
They
at
don't
least
have
Yeah.
the Mariners have to win out. They don't have a choice. They have to win every game to even have a shot at the playoffs.
Adam
So
is
it's
saying
interesting.
the Cubs don't have any tiebreakers.
Right. The Cubs don't have any tiebreakers. So it could get very interesting in the NL, though. You have 4 teams fighting for 2 spots, and they're all a game and a half apart.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the next 2 days are going to be exciting days for baseball. Even with all the NFL and college action going on for football, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to point this out real quick. If the White Sox lose 1 more game, they will have 100 losses this year. The White Sox. The reason that is significant is because there is already 3 other teams in baseball that have 100 losses. There has not been 4 teams with 100 losses in this Major League Baseball season in over 30 years. And the other crazy thing is
wild.
Baseball is nuts because the other crazy thing is there could be 4 teams that have 100 losses, right? If the Dodgers win 1 game, there's 3 teams that have 100 wins. I mean, how nuts is that? You could have a season in which 4 teams lose 100 games, but 3 teams win 100 games.
Right.
I'd have to look that one up, but I bet you that hasn't happened very often.
Adam is saying the Rays made the playoffs, but he feels like they've kind of collapsed.
Oh, I completely agree. The Rays should have won that division hands down. They had such a lead in that division that it doesn't matter. Now, here's an interesting thing to think about. Now, let's go into the leaders. In the American League, Corey Seager has the best batting average in the American League at 332, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's him and Diaz for the Rays that even have a chance at this because he's 332 and Diaz is 328. So they're 4 points off. To round out the top 5 would be Ohtani at 304, so 24 points less. We know he's not getting there because he's hurt. Bo Bichette doesn't have the at-bats to get there. He's at 303. But here's the crazy one to me. In the American League, who statistically, they've had better seasons. They have better hitters, batting average, power, right? Well, So 303 by Bo Bichette is 4th in the league. Do you know what the batting average is? That's 5th in the American League.
I'm going to say 2 something. I don't know.
285. It drops off 18 points after the 4th place guy. 285 is 5th best in the American League. That's insane. Top 5 in hits. So Marcus Semien leads the American League in hits with 182. The only person that can catch him is Rodriguez in Seattle, who has 180. Home runs, no one's catching Ohtani. Ohtani's going to end the regular season as the home run leader in the American League. He's got 44. Garcia for Texas could get to 40. Very, very real chance getting 40.
It's weird how many Rangers are on this list.
Yeah, it is. Because Garcia's got 39. And then runs batted in is interesting. Tucker leads with 111. Garcia has 107 for Texas. He's second in the American League. Marcus Semien is fourth with 99. Sandwiched in between them is Rodriguez, and then Devers for Boston has 98. And you keep talking about the Rangers and how many Rangers are on this list.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. It's crazy because you go to the next list, which is runs scored. And guess what?
What?
It's two Rangers that lead that list. Marcus Semien has 121, and then Garcia scored 107 runs. So they're at the top of that list too. Stolen bases. Ruiz in Oakland has 65 stolen bases for Oakland.
That's probably the most in a while.
It's the most in a while for the American League, but we'll get to the NL and we'll show why that's not at the most this year. Adam Barbaro says, I think the AL MVP is Kyle Tucker and maybe Seager. However, I feel like it's Acuna, and I feel like it's not even close, to be honest. So we're going to get to that. We are going to get to that. I think the AL MVP, I can't say it's Kyle Tucker. It's far and away Kyle Tucker. I think my vote goes to Seager.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because your team is Texas. I'm saying that because he really – well, everyone was like, man, Texas really took a flyer by taking Seager. Seager's on his way down. Like, he's not at the top of the league anymore. And all he did was come out and lead the AL in batting average this year.
Diamond in the rough, so to speak. At least on that side.
So those are your leaders. Now, if you went into the leaders as far as pitching goes, there is no Texas Rangers on that list. The ERA leader is Garrett Cole, 263. Maybe the surprise on that list is Kyle Bradish from Baltimore, a 286, and that's third in the league. He's actually had a really good year. We go to strikeouts. That's Gossman, and that's not even close. 237 there. Wins Zach Eflin for the Rays with 16. Bassett also had 16 for Toronto. And then saves. Do you know who the saves leader in the American League is?
I don't.
So it's Claus from the Guardians, and it's not close. I thought it was a way closer race than that. He has 43. Romano from Toronto is second, and he has 36. So it's not even a close race as far as the saves go.
No.
Now we go to the National League leaders. Luis Arraez for Miami leads the batting average category with 353, which is impressive. It's impressive to hit 353 in a season. Let's not pretend. But he's really, really tailed off. Remember, he was hitting almost 400 at the beginning of August. So 353. Of course, second is RAJ, Ronald Acuna Jr. at 336. Freeman at 331. Bellinger at 310. And Bellinger came on. I mean, he might be comeback player of the year, Cody Bellinger.
Mm-hmm.
It's either him or Corey Seager. And it looks like Sarge is joining us here. Sarge will get in on the Major League Baseball action. Sarge, how you doing?
Doing good. How you guys doing? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's good to see you. We were just going through the leaders now. We're into the NL now. But your opinion real quick who wins comeback player of the year? Is it Cody Bellinger in Chicago or is it Corey Seager in Texas?
What has Corey Seager really do? I haven't heard his name at
He
all.
leads he leads the American League in batting average.
Yeah, I think I saw today his average was what, 331, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with the AL side. I'm gonna go with Corey Seager on this one. I think he's a phenomenal player. Nothing against Bellinger, but Corey Seager, he gets my vote.
All right. And then you go to hits in the NL side. Ronald Acuna Jr. leads in hits. He's got 214 hits this year.
Mm-hmm.
Freeman second with 207. And this, so then this is where I want to talk about. Do you think that there is a large market versus small market bias in Major League Baseball? Because all year we have heard in the National League side that is Mookie Betts against Ronald Acuna Jr. for the NL MVP, right? So Acuna Jr. is hitting 336 this year. Mookie Betts is hitting 308. 28 points difference. Acuna Jr.'s got 214 hits. Mookie Betts has 177. Okay? Just a couple of examples there. Home runs. This is really the only one that's close between the two of them. RBIs, I guess, is close too, but Matt Olson's hit 54 this year, by the way. So who won that? Who won that deal? In us signing in Atlanta, signing Matt Olson and letting Freeman walk. All he did was went out and hit 54 home runs to lead Major League Baseball this year, and he's still got a couple games left. Anyway, so Ronald Acuna Jr. has 41. Mookie Betts has 39. So they're pretty close on that one.
Yeah.
Matt Olson, by the way, has 136 RBIs to lead Major League Baseball in that category. And then Mookie Betts has 106 RBIs, and Ronald Acuna Jr. has 104. Runs scored is another one. Ronald Acuna Jr. has scored 146 runs this year. Think about that. In a 162-game season, he's going to score close to 150 runs. And Mookie Betts has scored 126. That's still impressive. Don't get me wrong. That's still impressive.
That is.
Then there's this one. Stolen bases. Acuna Jr. stole 2 more tonight, so he's got 72 stolen bases this year. 72. Mookie Betts has 16.
32, 16.
Right.
So like Mookie Betts is more of a positional player than really like if you're trying to get like on base or anything else or trying to get runs, Mookie Betts is not going to be that guy.
No. I agree with that. Mookie Betts is more the power guy. He's more the driving in the runs guy. I get that. But I think as far and remember, Acuna is the first player with 40 homers and 70 stolen bases in a season.
Mm-hmm.
I think making a historic season, how can he not win the MVP in the National League?
I think he is going to win the MVP. Like, I mean, like just being the 40-70 player, that does it. Mookie Betts is not even in the top 5 in the home runs. And if you go in all the top 5 and like pretty much all the hitting, Acuna Jr. is in there except for runs batted, except for like RBIs.
Right.
Mookie Betts, he's nowhere close in the top 5 in anything else. So it has to be Acuna on the NL side.
Here's an interesting stat while we're talking about interesting stats for baseball. Kyle Schwarber has 46 home runs, right? This year?
Yeah.
Which is tied for second in the National League with Pete Alonso.
Well, it's actually second in the ML in the league itself.
Yeah, it is. It's second in baseball.
Tied with Pete Alonso.
Right. Here is what I want to point out. Going into the final 2 games of the season, Kyle Schwarber's batting average is 197. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you with me so far? 197.
I'm with you.
He has struck out 214 times.
Oh, that's see,
crazy.
I don't get that anymore because it's like people try to like swing for the fences now for in baseball, kind of like basketball. You just shoot about the half court, and if you're going for power, of course you're going to probably get more strikeout. You're going to strike out more than that, and reaching 100 is like, or 150 is pretty much like the norm now.
Right.
200.
So I just 214. I want to point something out because I'm sure everyone's going to come at me and say, yeah, but Acuna Jr.'s got over 40 homers, all the strikeouts. By comparison, now I just looked it up. Kyle Schwarber has had 709 plate appearances this year. Okay, 709. Right.
Mhm.
So with me on that, 709 plate appearances. And remember, he has struck out 214 times, but he has hit 46 homers. Acuna Jr. has 727 plate appearances this year, has hit 41 home runs, so only 5 less homers in more plate appearances. He has struck out 82 times.
Okay.
130 less times in more plate appearances than Kyle Schwarber. I don't know what else to say. The numbers don't lie.
Yeah, that's true. So, quick question though. I kind of want to go back to comeback player of the year. When did Acuna get injured? Like he was done for the season. Was it last year?
2 years. It was he came back last year. He still played in 115 games last year, so I don't think he'd qualify for comeback player of the year just because he did play in more than half the games last year.
Okay, never mind then. Since I know that now, then I'm not going to even talk about that.
But he's going to win NL MVP. I think Seager wins comeback player of the year, and Seager's actually up there for AL MVP also. Let's see. We got a couple of comments. So we got Cole is going to win Cy Young for AL. I agree with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Snell is going to win for the NL. I agree with that one too. Let's see. Acuna is going to win MVP, no doubt. I honestly think Matt Olson gets a couple of votes. I think he has to if he's got 54 homers, 136 RBIs, and he's batting in the high 280s. That's a good year. A Phillies fan said batting average and strikeouts mean nothing. That's why they feel Schwarber is MVP. Okay. We're going to go right over that comment because
well, Felix Hernandez, he won the Cy Young award with like a losing record.
Right.
So there is a little bit of merit to that. I see. I can actually understand what Philly fans are talking about because Felix Hernandez, I think it was back in 2012. I mean, he was lights out on the. You just think it runs whatsoever. So I do understand where the Phillies fans are coming from, but no, that's not going to fly.
Okay. All right. Maybe I can see what they're saying, except the fact that you mean to tell me that baseball prides themselves on being such a pure sport and a historic sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would it do for the game of baseball if a guy who hit 197 got the MVP over a guy who hit 331 this season?
That is true.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I'm going to come back on the AL MVP. I think Ohtani is going to win it. That's going to be my.
That's kind of how I feel, but I wouldn't be upset if it was Seager, like you were talking earlier.
I think Seager's in for comeback player of the year. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think he'll be player of the year. But I can't see the MVP what Tony has done.
Okay. Well, I don't think that you're completely wrong on that.
Well, since Crispy Bacon decided with me, I'm going to be wrong because we know how his football
No,
picks are.
no, on here I said Seeger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I agree. We all know Chris will send these little things in our group chats, and he'll say like, "Oh, I got a good feeling about this." His one last week was, "I have a good feeling about Colorado versus Oregon." Well, we all know how that turned out. I believe he even said, "I have a good feeling about Denver over Miami."
Dude, that was a video game. I don't believe it. Conspiracy theory. That was a video game.
Hey, Tyreek says he plays Madden. So
they played something. I mean, that was just crazy. It was just insane. I don't even know what to say about that one.
Can they do 80 this weekend?
Oh, heck no, not against Buffalo. It's going to be probably a closer game.
Not against Buffalo. By the way, I want to say this. I want to say that I ended up having to make a trip last Sunday, and I didn't get to change my lineup in fantasy football. I was kind of pissed about it, to be honest, because I didn't get to take Aaron Jones out, and he was a last-minute decision to not play. So I had a running back position that got me 0 points. And I'm like, well, shit, here comes my first loss, right? So going through the week, and then I have Buffalo as my defense last week. So now, keeping in mind that a premier position on my team got 0 points, right? In the league I'm talking about, I scored the most fantasy points of anyone in the league last week with my running back getting 0 points. You know how I did that? Because Buffalo, a defense, had 43 fantasy points last week.
That's awesome.
And that was because they had 4 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, a punt return for a touchdown, 8 sacks, and a pick 6.
That's crazy.
You sure that wasn't Miami?
No. But I do work with a guy who said that he lost fantasy last week because the guy he played against needed a last-minute pickup right before the game started, and he picked up 2 running backs from Miami. He picked up Mostert and Apchin. And he started both of them.
Kind of had to.
But think about that. Two running backs from the same team, he started them, and they both went off in the same game. It's kind of crazy. In more breaking news tonight, Utah. Everyone thought Utah was the real deal. This was their year. They were going to go to the college football playoff.
Not happening.
Well, they got damned up by the Beavers tonight. The Beavers took them down 21-17. The game going on right now. So the finals from tonight, we had Louisville beating North Carolina State 13-10. And the one we already talked about, number 19, Oregon State beating number 10, Utah 21-7. We had Louisiana Tech beating University of Texas El Paso, UTEP, the UTEP Miners.
Go Miners.
And Louisiana Tech won that one 24-10. The one game going on right now is BYU against Cincinnati.
Wasn't it last time I saw it? It was like,
which is weird to say.
BYU was up last time I saw.
BYU is winning that game 35-20 with 2:15 left in the game. So
it's over. Theoretically.
It's pretty much over. Let's go. Let's see. Ryder Cup's going on for the PGA. The WNBA. Let's talk about the WNBA. The New York Liberty. The New York Liberty beat Connecticut Sun 92-81 to lead. They now lead the series, 2-1. So that's going to a game 4. Hope maybe a game 5. The Aces. Sorry to report, Crispy. The Aces were able to outlast your Wings 64-61, and the Aces sweep that series 3-0. I don't think anyone's surprised at this point that the Aces are going to the WNBA Finals because they have had a hell of a season. So
Dallas was around short. I mean,
yeah. So those are the finals. Some great matchups going on tomorrow. Some good games. In college, Northwestern against Penn State happens. They're one of the first games tomorrow. Now, Penn State's number 6. Does Northwestern have a chance in this game?
First quarter.
Sure, but maybe not.
First quarter.
Well, yeah, because Northwestern, like they play hard, like pretty much like the first quarter every single game. Like when they're playing against a top 25 school, then after that, it's just a beatdown.
Okay. That Colorado team, they got decimated last week in Eugene.
Yeah.
They go up against USC this week in Boulder. Does Colorado have a chance this week against USC?
I'm going to say yeah, because it's
Yeah.
going to be a sleeping game. Like, I mean, a rebound game, like how a girlfriend leaves you got to get a rebound somehow. And I'm not a big fan of the player Caleb Williams. I don't think he's all that good of a football player. Still don't know how he won the Heisman. That still baffles me on that one. So I honestly can see Colorado making a big upset on the top 10. And
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think one of the Colorado players are back who was injured against Colorado State as well, I believe.
Okay. How about Georgia? They play Auburn. Now, Auburn is not the team that they were a few years ago.
You mean with Cam Newton?
Right. Now,
Who next?
Georgia's a 14-point favorite. Does Auburn have any shot in this game to pull off the upset?
If
No.
Georgia doesn't use their timeouts correctly, sure.
No.
Okay. And in one of the biggest lines of the weekend, Michigan is an 18-point favorite against Nebraska.
That's just not
Is
fair.
that off-field coaching?
And they're number 2 in the country. Now, here's an interesting matchup. Texas and Kansas. Now, I normally wouldn't say that that's a big matchup, but Texas is number 3 in the country, and I know Chris is going to do the hook 'em horns.
No, I'm not going to.
But Kansas is ranked 24th in the country. This is the first meeting between these two teams where they're both ranked in 25 years. Does Kansas, as a 16-point underdog playing in Texas, they're playing in Austin, do they have any shot in this game? Does Kansas have any shot at all?
Heck no. Well, if Miami's quarterback, then maybe, but no.
Okay. Now, the biggest line of the weekend, if you had all your money, you would put it on this and take the points because it is the biggest line of the weekend. And I don't know that it's a good thing for this team. Oregon's coming off an emotional win against Colorado. They are a 27-point favorite against Stanford.
I would take it.
I'd be
Okay.
cautious.
Yeah, I mean,
No, Chris, please don't. Chris, don't guarantee win for Oregon,
I'm not.
please.
I'm not.
So
I'm saying I wouldn't bet it, but I'd be cautious
Stanford
about it.
lost to Sacramento, which is in the FCS. I don't see Stanford doing anything good in this game because they're 1-3 right now. No,
Yeah.
I think Oregon is going to at least be up by 30 points by halftime. Let's do that.
Okay. The last interesting game I want to talk about in college football is number 11 Notre Dame at number 17 Duke. Now, it's a 5.5 point line. Notre Dame is favored in this game by 5.5 points. Question is, in my opinion, this is my opinion only, Duke is the best team in the ACC this year.
That's saying a lot for that.
It is saying a lot. Does Notre Dame lose tomorrow? Do they lose to Duke? Because they're playing. They play at Duke. So,
You know what? Give me Duke on this one because they're both pretty much a defensive team. Well, actually, no. Give me Notre Dame because I didn't think Notre Dame was going to win against Ohio State, but I was kind of surprised how close it was against Ohio State. So I think Notre Dame is going to take this one pretty easily.
well, you know what I find funny? I find it funny that they ranked Notre Dame 11 so that they can remember to have 11 guys on defense.
Even in downfield.
Yeah.
Look, I get maybe you do it once. How do you do it 2 plays in a row?
There was some bad miscommunication going on there, and I think that's going to have to go on the coach on that one. Or
coordinator. Funny because after the game they asked the coach, they're like, hey, what was your thinking on that? And he's like, well, I was going to have someone run on at the last minute, but then we couldn't afford the penalty. I don't care about the penalty at that moment. I'm going to make sure there's enough guys on the field. And I would have taken too many men on the field penalty to make sure there was enough guys out there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, they would have won that game, I think.
Yeah,
if they made that stop, they would have won that game.
So, I mean, I'm going to make sure there's enough guys out there. Now, I said that was the last one. I am going to bring up one more. I will come on the show.
Mhm.
And I will have to admit that Washington is the best team in the Pac-12 if they beat Arizona tomorrow.
Ooh.
But if Arizona beats Washington, then Sarge has to say that he was wrong and that Washington is not a team that should be in the college football playoff.
I am not even a Washington fan.
I know. I'm just – you just live there. So it's I'm not even an Oregon fan. So
I mean, Washington's quarterback, what, is he like 40 years old yet or something like that?
I know, right? Penix Jr., yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I think he's like one of the oldest players on there.
But Washington is favored by 19.5 points against Arizona. So probably won't be too interesting of a game, to be honest. Yeah, so there's that one. I know, they'll probably lose. Chris, is Washington going to win tomorrow?
I have no clue.
It's going to go into like 7 overtimes.
Probably.
Right. Right. But don't forget that this weekend for baseball, the last 2 games of the season, the last 3 games of the season, it's going to decide everything. So it's going to be great. So I asked a question before the show. I put it in the group chat. the question I asked was, what is the difference? And I clarified this one with Chris. I said it could have been, it doesn't have to be the Mariners, but it could be, put your favorite sports team in there. So what is the difference between what is the difference between a woman and your favorite sports team?
They always disappoint me.
You're close.
Yeah.
Eventually, the woman stops fucking you.
Oh. Oh, that's good.
Because you could say that about the Mariners. It's pretty heartbreaking. It's got to be heartbreaking to be a Mariners fan.
I mean, that's why we have like blood pressure medicines. I mean, they give it out free here. So if you're a Seattle fan, you get like blood pressure medicine for free. But they took 2 away from Texas these last 2 nights. So
I know.
when you talk about the AL West, you're talking about the Wild Wild West right now. So
Yeah,
Yep.
we talked about that. We talked about 3 teams being a game and a half apart. Look, I can't have allegiance to either of those teams, but I will tell you two, sitting here right here and now, the one of you being a Texas fan, the other one being a Mariners fan, I'm totally fine, by the way, if your 2 teams end up in the playoffs and Houston doesn't. That would make me happy.
I know I gotta. I think what I think Houston plays I forget who they play. Are they playing Toronto?
Yeah, I can look it up.
No,
I
they're
can
playing
tell you.
Arizona. So yeah, they're playing
Arizona just needs 1 win.
Arizona only needs 1 win to make the playoffs. So
It's going to happen.
they're playing for something too.
It's going to happen. I mean, Texas is.
And the Rangers and the Mariners play each other for the last 3 games of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
4-game series.
4-game series. Yeah. Last 4 games, right?
Yep. And right now, like I said, Chris, Seattle already has taken 2.
I know. We'll get 1. We need 2 for the division, but we'll take 1.
Is Texas going to go to the World Series?
Probably not.
No,
I
because
already
they're
know
going to
that.
they're going to run into the buzzsaw and the AL side that is the Baltimore Orioles.
See, I wonder how if Baltimore is going to fall off the wagon, like once the playoffs happen. I mean, if you look at 2001 when the Mariners won 116 games, the same thing happened with them. The Mariners got destroyed in the first round.
Yeah. What team was that destroyed him again, by the way?
I don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about it.
Because I could tell you it's the one team that you're happy as a Mariners fan that did not make the playoffs this year.
I know. I don't want to talk about it. I think that was like our last chance that we could actually go to the World Series.
Oh man, so much fun. I want to comment on something else I shared earlier. Now, even though I don't think that the first part of this is funny at all, I don't think that murder is funny. However, they have arrested somebody in the Tupac Shakur murder that happened in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
I do find it kind of interesting, though, that they were able to solve Tupac's murder before the Cowboys even made it back to the NFC Championship game.
I did not see where that went, but that was great.
Yeah. Chris was mentioning earlier that he would like Dallas Cowboy members to be his pallbearers for him because then they can let him down just one last time.
I mean, that's a perfect ending. I mean, that's better than like motorcycles jumping over you. I mean,
Right? Oh, all right. We're bringing it back tonight. You guys got to be ready.
oh, I am ready, like a villain.
Rapid fire. So we're going to go here with rapid fire. Chris loves this game.
Right. I
He
do.
always gets the best ones. Oh, let's see. Rapid fire questions. Let's have these pulled up and ready. Suzanne's joining us. She says, hello, guys. And she says, that's a good one. All right. So we're going to start with Sarge. And we're going to start with him because this one's a little easier for him because he's a little older than Chris is. Because Chris isn't even, he's barely out of his 20s, so he doesn't have the life experience to answer this question. But Sarge, what has been your favorite age so far?
My favorite age
Yeah.
so far. Dang. I'm gonna say 21 because I can do stuff legally.
Okay.
I can drink.
Chris,
Yes.
how often do you floss?
At least once a day, sometimes twice, but I would say once.
Wow. Way more impressive than most people.
I mean, that is a lot better than me, Chris, because mine's like every 6 months when I go to the dentist. Even the dentist asks how many times I floss. I'm like, every time I see you.
That's great. That's great. Sarge, you had a rough day and you got to come home and make dinner. What's your go-to lazy dinner?
Black beans and rice.
Black beans and rice. Okay.
Yeah. Put like a little sauce on top of it, cheese, sour cream, maybe a little hot sauce. Yeah. And you know what's funny? Once he said, if I had a bad day, the song, like, I had a bad day again, popped in my head.
Oh, that one.
All right, Chris, if you could be any Disney character, who would you be?
Oh,
I'll go Goofy.
Goofy. Okay. Yeah.
Go, Mickey.
Sarge, what is the stupidest dare you've ever done?
Drinking a bottle of hot sauce.
Okay. And I was going to say, remember, never mind. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, that was on. I did that on Four Bros, like I think 2 years
Oh,
ago.
yeah, you did.
Yeah, because I lost the dare, and it was
lost
ghost
there?
pepper. No, it was I think it was ghost pepper or habanero hot sauce. I don't remember.
Yeah.
All I know, I didn't feel very well afterwards.
Chris, what's one word that you've mispronounced one time that's haunted you since?
Super Bowl.
Probably. I can't think of one really. Besides that one, but
Sarge, what's a word that you have trouble pronouncing correctly?
The other word for foil.
Aluminum?
Aluminum. I can't even do it.
Okay. I actually have one I'll share for a word that I mispronounced one time that kind of haunted me for a while after that. I was probably 16 or 17 and I was reading where people get like convicted of crimes and stuff, right? And there was this guy that got convicted, and I read it that he got convicted for man's laughter. and he got 15 years. And I'm like, he got 15 years for laughing? After that, I learned that it was, manslaughter, and it's not even spelled the same, but that's how I read it, was man's laughter. Yeah. So interesting tidbit there. Let's do one more each. Whose turn? Is it Chris's turn?
Sure.
I think so.
Chris,
Yes.
what's your favorite body part? Oh, come on, Chris.
I don't know.
Yeah, you do. It's okay. It's probably most men's favorite body part, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's my femur.
Yeah. It's my femur. And last one is for Sarge. And Sarge, what's your favorite word?
My favorite word? I don't know.
What does IDK mean?
I don't know.
No one does. Oh, that was great. All right. Let's go around and get some final thoughts. Chris, give us an update for the weekend. What's happening this weekend on the network?
On deck is tomorrow, and then morning tailgate is Sunday. Recapping the week in baseball, kind of leading up to the last day of baseball, and then on Sunday we have morning tailgate, covering the games that are on Sunday and Monday, including the early morning game of Falcons and Jaguars.
Yep. Sarge.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just check out like what Crispy said. Like we have good things on the network, especially with our baseball show and the morning tailgate, which is pretty good. So don't miss that, guys. And like Tim Hendricks, I like him on that show. Just watch it. And of course, don't miss the Four Bros.
Of course, don't miss Four Bros on Monday. We'll recap all of Sunday's action and probably talk about the Monday Night Football game too. And that will happen on the last day of baseball season. So
With that baseball season ended Sunday.
I might be drinking because or sad. I don't know yet.
You're right, Chris. I misspoke. I meant it's the day we're going to recap the last day of baseball season.
Oh, okay.
Is what I meant to say.
Gotcha.
So we'll have the action. We'll give you all of the playoff schedule, teams that are matching up there. We'll give you our. However, we could have one inning played on Monday if it's needed. The Marlins could be forced to fly to New York and finish the game against the Mets on Monday if the Marlins need to play the game to decide playoff implication. Can you believe that? They might have to fly to New York for one inning. And that would happen Monday.
Behind closed doors.
We'll have to see what happens.
I did that once for Little League. We just played one inning because it got delayed for rain, and it was like a week later. And we gave up 5 runs that inning, and we lost.
Yeah, I bet. So speaking of that, Sarge, you and I both play Adult League softball, and I got to ask you a question. Does it ever drive you nuts? I don't know how many tournaments you play in, but it kind of drives me crazy when I drive 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours to go to a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I show up there, right, to play on this team, and that team plays in the same city that I do in the same league. And that's my first game.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Like, I drove here 4 hours and I get to play against you that I've played 7 times this year.
I know, that's weird. Like, James agreeing with you on that. So, yeah. Then the talk comes. Yeah, if that was going to happen, we should have just played in our own. I get it. I get it. I've been there a couple of times, and
All right. Well, Crispy was here. Sarge was here. I was here. We all made it through another show. Join us on Monday. Catch everything on the weekend. Thank you for watching and listening. Christy, thanks for joining us right there at the end. The Marlins flying to New York to play one inning. Sounds dumb to me. It is dumb, but that's what they wanted.
Hey, baseball.
It's baseball. So that's what would happen. Thanks for everyone who commented. Tim Hendricks, Adam Barber, Suzanne, Christy, anyone I missed, I apologize. But tune in. We got great stuff coming up on the network. Thanks for watching and listening. We could not do this without you. Lifelong dreams being lived in front of your very eyes, and we will see you all on the other side.